peaceful and beautiful and physical and angry all at the same time.
Were you idiot, your mind would cave in and your heart would explode within your chest.
This is going to be a shame.
Here we go!
Away we go, another new edition of the Talk In audio podcast from the TCA studio in beautiful Bytown, Canada. A couple loudmouth fuckers who couldn't get it all out of their system in one go. So we asked Rob to come back for a second midweek show. What a fucking trooper. What's happening, man?
That's what I do, man. I give.
Yeah.
I give and I give till it hurts. Now, who's hurting?
Huh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Not entirely
We'll
sure.
receive till it hurts.
Yeah, no, it's never really in my...
Yeah.
I give. I give, Matt. I have a big heart.
What are you giving a go over there?
I am over to our good friends at Black Gold Brewing in beautiful downtown Petrolia.
Yeah, okay. I recall that now.
Down in your neck of the woods.
Sarnia?
Yeah, just outside Sarnia. So this is called where...
Is there a less appealing sounding town name than Petrolia?
There is Vagina, Newfoundland, or Dildo.
Dildo.
Dildo, yeah.
I don't know.
Vagina's
Sounds more appealing than Petrolia.
Vagina is fairly appealing.
Exactly. Breezy corners.
Yeah, well, it's... Dildo,
Depends
vagina,
on what end of
breezy
town
corners.
you are.
Yes, you started this.
I often do.
So where Robert met Fletcher, which I guess is the two streets where the brewery is at, Robert and Fletcher. This is a pseudo lager, Matt.
Okay.
Have you had a pseudo lager?
I've had many, but they've never advertised themselves as such.
As a pseudo. So a pseudo lager, as far as I can tell, is you followed a lager recipe without, like, this may be following a lager recipe with an ale yeast.
Okay.
Right? So it sort of ferments at a higher temperature and still gives you that crisp lager appeal.
Yep.
So that's what I'm working with here today. I'm interested to see if it has that sort of, if it's able to keep that yeasty sort of malty backbone of a lager. Mm-hmm. Anyways.
Okay.
That's what I'm going with today. A pseudo lager, which I've never had before.
Sub 5.
It's 4.5.
Yeah. Also 4.5 over here. I feel like we're shortchanging the good listener a little bit. But
it's a good thing we had the pre-show beers.
Exactly.
Really what
Enough
that is.
of them know how this shit works. That,
and this is perfect. This is as lager-esque as you're going to get.
Okay. This is the, I've had this once before on the show, the Citrus Garland Pale Ale.
Citrus Garland.
Bicycle Craft Brewery.
Right here on Industrial Avenue.
I would say this is sub-perfect.
Oh, okay.
Perhaps by a wide margin.
Citrus Garland, is it a sour? Is it a saison?
No, it's a pale ale, and it says it's supposed to be a New England pale ale, so we're not calling it an IPA, but it's going to be hazy and juicy. It's a little more pedestrian than that. It's coming off, for lack of a better term, a little more macro. Like, it's got kind of this very mass-produced almost, here,
like a Molson Canadian.
Here, just drink this. Just, like, I don't know. I don't remember. I've had this once before on the show, not that long ago, a couple months ago. I don't remember feeling this way about it. So either my last couple of weeks have soured me a little, and I'm taking it out on poor Bicycle Craft Brewery.
Well, and Bicycle loves their IPAs.
Yeah. So you should have stuck a little more I in this. This is just a pale ale. I don't know.
That you are the I in that, and it's disgruntled. We need more and we being happy. I'm quite happy with this pseudo lager from Black Gold.
I wouldn't say this is bad. This is not great.
See,
4.5%.
I got to get back over there and get a little bit more of their wee heavy.
Yeah, well, you land them a wee heavy blow for me.
Okay, well, I will tell them disgruntled with the what's it called?
Citrus Garland. Do better.
Yeah, all right. I'm not even going to venture in that direction.
Did you think the LA Kings would do better? I touched on this a little yesterday.
I thought they would smash the Oilers, to be honest with you.
This was 4 straight years that these two teams faced each other, and man, it looked like if it was ever going to work...
Oh, man, you shit the bed again.
You sort of had this bridge between what's left of your old guard, right? Your Kopitar and your Doughty.
Doughties.
Your Trevor Lewis, I think, is still there.
Yeah.
And this Brant Clark and Quentin Byfield.
Well, they would have to play Brant Clark.
Well, there is something to that. Darcy Kemper, you and I talked about this a few weeks ago, like this trade that...
Was he in the Vezina? Did he get nominated? Was he
I don't know if he
one
was,
of the finalists in the Vezina? I believe
recall
Darcy
now.
Kemper was.
And so you're like, that was a trade where it wasn't working in Washington, and Dubois was not working in LA. You swap them, and both of them turn out really well for you. You finish ahead of Edmonton. You've got home ice. You're up 2 games.
You haven't lost a home game since the preseason.
And you're just like, you guys can have it. Walk away. And
Roll over, bite the pillow.
Was it game 4 where Byfield makes the one play? Like you're about to go up by 2, finish that off. Now you're up 3-1. You've almost certainly you're going to have it. It falls apart. And there's just like, so since then, Rob Blake and the Kings have mutually agreed to part ways. I'm sure it was more mutual in one way.
It's not you. It's
us.
It's you.
Yeah, it's really you.
It's totally you.
I don't know. I sort of briefly pontificated on this on the Monday show after Stoughton departed.
I ruminated.
After he got tired of my shit.
And then I pontificated.
I don't know what you do if you're the LA Kings. Like, you're building, it seems like, a pretty decent team, but your older guys are aging out. You don't have a lot of time to fuck around, with Kopitar and Deneau and Doughty. But you're pretty good, and you just keep running into the one team. So you can't rebuild. Like, you can't go, well, if we can't beat that one team, we have to tear it all down. You were really good through the second half of the season, but you still can't beat those guys. And even if next year you get a better draw and you beat whoever, you'll have the Oilers waiting for you in round 2.
Yeah. To me, this comes down to, we can talk about Rob Blake and his sort of, like, they were supposed to have this unbelievable crop of young players, the talent in the both drafted and in the minors. And it just never really came to fruition, really.
Yeah.
Because you are looking at...
This is Byfield's first full season up the middle.
Yeah, no, and I'm sorry, and I'm not even including Byfield
he's
in that.
the top tip of that sword,
right,
yeah.
But you are talking about the Fiala, you're talking about the Kopitar, you're talking about Doughty, you bring in Kemper, the Deneau.
Kempe has established himself as a...
It is this... They were never... It's like Jim Hiller got taken... He got outcoached by Knobloch, clearly, because they didn't play their game.
Yeah.
Like, everybody wants to get to their game.
Yeah.
And you didn't do it as a defensive team that never loses at home.
You got no sympathy for these two superheroes who just decide midway through the third, fuck it, I'll play now and blow up your shit.
Yeah. I'm not sure what you're talking about.
McDavid and Draisaitl just decide, I guess we better get going.
But again...
These guys are hard to stop.
You have those two guys, but the rest of the roster, Hyman is not what Hyman was last year.
Nope.
Nugent Hopkins, not what he was last year or the year before.
Yep.
You have Bouchard doing Bouchardian things at both ends of the ice.
And he's without his safety blanket, right?
And you don't have Ekholm.
Yeah.
You've already... Skinner has been pulled from the series.
Yep.
Like, if you were ever going to do it.
Yeah.
With the season you've had...
So you're not buying the fact that it's just we can't beat Edmonton.
No.
You just don't like their group in general. LA's.
No, I think they should have won this series.
Yeah.
I think...
So now that they haven't...
So I think Jim Hiller needs to be fired.
So it's just... Obviously, it's not just coaching, but you would start with the coach.
We can start with that challenge.
Yeah.
And you go, there's the game right there. You fucked it up, and they've come back. You've taken that challenge that was so unwise, and then you put that Edmonton power play back on the ice. Mm-hmm. The one thing that you can't do, you've done, and the momentum has switched. And if you listen to him, sparring is generous with the media, right? When you have a coach saying, I don't know what to do. Do you have suggestions for me? Like, that is, you're fucking giving it up, man.
Giving it up.
Bam, bam. Like, what do you like? To me, you've already said, you've bared your soul and every nugget of wisdom you have to the entire world. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Do you have suggestions? Well, that guy's a fucking media guy who's going to say, "Do you like grape cola?" I like it. We're best friends. Like, it's like, I just don't. As a guy who was an interim coach, and they unwisely extended.
They trimmed him.
Yeah. So to me, that is, if you're going to let Rob Blake go, that's where it starts. It starts with you extended that coach instead of going out and getting a better coach.
And you just never know. Like, maybe next year is the year where Kopitar finally falls off, or Doughty does. Like, this may have been your last. But if not, like, you have to go into next year still giving her. And I don't know what that looks like.
Well, I don't want to harp
in
on
that
it.
division.
I don't want to harp on the fact that, much like we talk about with the Leafs, you got to win the division.
It does remind me of the Leafs, though, a little bit. That, like, yeah, the division's hard, but the Central was the hard division this year, right? Like,
yep. But for Toronto to win the division to get the wild card spot, and you go, yeah, bam, that's what you want. You want to avoid the other two beasts. So whereas you got home ice advantage, they didn't win the division, LA, but you got home ice, and your record at home was fucking
ridiculous.
sterling.
Yes.
And so and then you have no heck home. You have some of the questionable decisions that were made in the offseason. Mm-hmm. This is the time. Like, you had it right there. You go up 2-0 and you don't win. And I find with the tone I'm using, I'm way more passionate and invested than I really thought.
Because I keep trying to ask you, what do you do? Not what happened. Like, if you're LA,
I fire the coach, man.
Okay, but that's it. You're running it back with this group. You're going to trust that Doughty and Kopitar can hang on. Byfield's going to be another year better. Kempe's going to, remain a star.
Where's Turcotte at? Like, all these things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm going to trust these guys to.
Well, clearly, if you're going to bring the coaching back,
well, we don't have to.
Okay.
If you're replacing the coach with a good top-end qualified coach, you'll give this group another go?
If you look at the D and they played their 5th and 6th D, man. Like,
almost not at all.
Like, his name escapes me.
It's like Marveri or Maravera.
Like 3 minutes.
Yes.
3 minutes in a 60-minute hockey game.
Yeah.
Like, and then Brant Clark was still sub 10.
Yeah.
And he was getting some power play time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have leaned so heavily on your top 4 that you need to extend that depth. You need to find more D. Like, there's got to be, if you're going to make changes, that's where it has to be.
I want to talk about the Sens and the PWHL Charge, both Ottawa teams. But before we do, a lot of teams who are being flushed out in the first round are headed over to have guys heading over to the Worlds.
To beautiful Stockholm, Sweden.
Is that where it is this year?
Yeah, it is in Sweden. Sweden and
they're splitting at Denmark, I think.
Denmark,
yeah. You know what? Not bad, eh?
Love to be in Copenhagen. Copenhagen's hosting the B pool.
They just
the
did that.
Non-Canada pool.
They just did that a couple of years ago, though. Copenhagen had it. I think Freddie Anderson went and limped his way through it.
Yeah, good for him, man.
Yeah. This appears to be, for better or worse, the Sidney Crosby show. I speculated on the last episode that, like, Sid had been asked at the end of the regular season for the Penguins, you going to go? It's a year before an Olympics, which is going to be a key part of...
I played at Four Nations. Like, I've done...
And he sort of said, like, he was hurt going into that Four Nations. We all knew that, and he ended up playing. He's like, sometimes it's just easier to just keep going. Like, the injury will catch up with you later.
Yeah.
So he played through that, played down the stretch for the Penguins. He said, I'm going to have to, whether I'm going or not, stop here for a while, and we'll see how I feel in a couple weeks. And we don't hear anything until Sunday afternoon.
So Colorado was eliminated?
That's exactly, yes. That great Dallas-Colorado Game 7. It's got to be, I don't know how this played out, but it's such a douche move, isn't it? If you're Crosby and you're like, so sorry to hear what happened last night, but you want to come to Stockholm?
Yeah. I don't know what that conversation looks like.
But that is clearly what happened.
I know, but because when do you broach that subject?
Now, Nathan McKinnon is such an animal. Maybe it went the other way.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you going? If you're going, I'll go. Because he, by all accounts, loves to compete and play. But if it went the other way.
McKinnon?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Loves to compete, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. He's an animal for sure.
But if it is Crosby, like, is it that night?
No, it's last Thursday.
Is it the next
It's last
morning?
Thursday going, I see things are trending
It's
in the
getting a
wrong
little tight
direction.
there, eh? Any chance you're going to?
Just in the back of your mind, just keep it, mull it over if things don't go well Saturday night.
That Denver to Halifax via Stockholm.
Come on, a KLM flight. We're in there. No problems. Bam, bam.
Yeah. It comes out at whatever time on Sunday afternoon. Sid's going, and it's not more than an hour later. Dreger's like, we think it may also be McKinnon. And then a day or so later.
A day later. It's Monday afternoon.
Marc-Andre Fleury, who has had like 17 retirement moments this year, let everybody know he was retiring. And in a bunch of buildings where he played, a lot of guys were classy, did the stay for the handshake and this and that. We don't think we're going to see him in the playoffs, but Gustafsson does get yanked once, and Fleury gets back in, and now that's the last moment. And now he's going to Worlds.
And now Gustafsson is not at the Worlds, and Fleury is.
So who's the real winner?
Yeah, we know who it is.
It's interesting because we had also seen before all of this, Macklin Celebrini is going, Kent Johnston is going, Adam Fantilli is going up
Cooley.
front. Yeah, I was thinking just for Canada, but like these are guys who I think thought they were going to be the guy. And I'm not suggesting these young kids would be upset that Sidney Crosby is coming or whatever. But we also saw like Travis Konechny is going. That year before, Ryan O'Reilly. That year before an Olympics. And you got to really think back because we haven't gone to 2014. Bo Horvat. As Rob keeps throwing names at me while I try and juggle through whatever the fuck I'm trying to do over here. I can't even remember now. Back in the day, when the NHL routinely went to the Olympics, the year before, Canada's Worlds roster would look pretty fucking good with people wanting to get on Hockey Canada's radar. Yeah, I'll answer the call. I'll go. I'll show you what I got and just try and be in the mix. There was a lot of that. You look even on the blue line. Both Sanheim and Mackenzie Weegar scream to me as guys, not just who both want to be on the team, but are probably competing with each other, right? Like Sanheim went to Four Nations.
Yeah.
By the end, he was behind Thomas Harley, the guy who got dropped in mid-tournament. He didn't look great.
Couple gaffes.
There's just, this list looks a lot like
guys saying,
I'm here.
I'm your
Look
guy.
Look at me.
I'm willing to do this.
And it very quickly, within 24 hours, became Sid and pals.
Yeah, but if you look at, as you said, it's Dobson, it's Weegar, it's Sanheim. Like this is a pretty good looking Worlds roster because just what they named in the 15.
Yeah,
and then you go, okay, we're gonna.
I think the only goalie they had named was Dylan Garand.
It was Dylan Garand. And I'm like, I don't even know who that guy is.
He was on our World Junior team a year or two ago.
Okay, and so you're like that guy, and so you're wondering if Kemper or Blackwood.
We're waiting on somebody here.
That somebody else is going to say, hey, the guys who are on not Logan Thompson, sorry, because he's still playing.
He's still going, yeah.
But if you look at
Montembeault.
Yeah, but he was injured.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But if you look at Blackwood and Kemper as guys who were sort of bubble guys for the Four Nations, you'd think they would be a no-brainer to go, we'll take one of those spots once the smoke clears. But once you start to look at it.
I guess I'll stay home if Sid's taking his buddy.
Okay, but
it's just starting to feel a little that way to me.
I don't get that.
See, I'm not upset by it.
Because to me, Fleury is better than Garand.
Okay, but I'd like to get a look at Blackwood once more on the international stage, and I don't need Fleury in front of him on the retirement goodbye tour, right? Like,
yeah, I get it.
Like if Fleury's going to back up someone who's in the mix, and he'll still play a game or two, and Dylan Garand is there for the experience, I'm fine with all that. But if we're taking Fleury to be our guy, this is a missed opportunity the year before an Olympics to give someone else.
And that's what I say.
Yeah,
those other guys have to look at that and go, all right, Binnington's not coming. Like it would be a lot to expect Binnington to
and he
show
doesn't
up.
have to. We went to the Four Nations.
This is it. So if you're Kemper and Blackwood specifically, this is your chance. This is your chance to go, yeah, all right, man, I can do this. Now, that being said, Binnington went to Worlds last year. Mm-hmm. Didn't look that good.
No, he didn't.
So actually, the more I talk about it, maybe it means
there's been a lot of talk.
If you're willing to do it and show up and put the 3 weeks in.
Well, some of these guys like Fantilli, Johnston, Celebrini, I don't think I expect maybe Celebrini, if he got off to a really hot start,
Right.
gets that 14th forward spot or something. The Olympic rosters are big.
The young forwards, you're looking more for
Building experience.
2030
and,
or whatever helps down the road, right?
Yeah. But all of a sudden, like, I don't expect any of them are upset. But you did think you were going to be centers 1 and 2 and whatever. So now maybe your center.
Oh, but I'm totally fired up. If Sid's coming.
I was just going to say, like, Sid, I don't think he and McKinnon are coming to be centers 1 and 2. I think they want to play together. There's probably an understanding here.
100%.
One of them's going to be on the wing. And now, if you're Kent Johnston, you get dropped on that other wing. Holy fuck! Like, experience of a lifetime just landed in your lap, right?
If you can import a top
or Fantilli,
2/3 of a top line, and you go, guess what? The guys, the young good players, like that was a nice young roster that they were bringing.
Yes,
you start bumping those guys down because you have a ready-made
right.
Two,
like maybe Konechny plays with those two or
man,
something.
Oh man, and you go, that's already the beginning of your PP1.
Yes.
You got all this, and you're just like, and you as a young center, whoever you thought was going to be one.
Yeah, Riley maybe is C2 and
listen, but you're like, now I get to be 3 weeks. I get to
in the room
practice, be in the room with these killers.
Yes,
like it's already now.
Yeah, I don't want to.
It's become like a fantasy camp
a little bit, and this is it. Like, I'm not upset that Sid's reaching out and bringing all his pals over. This is the, last time I'm going. He hasn't been since 2015. I think
he just wins. He just wins when he puts the maple leaf on. So
for everybody else who's there, this is going to be like, for whatever you think of your own team's star, like Marner came home from Four Nations raving about just sitting in the room with Sidney Crosby, right?
Yeah.
And watching him prepare and his intensity of practice and these sorts of things. Columbus is about to get that for Johnston and Fantilli, right? Like, the Sharks are about to get that benefit on Celebrini.
And you wonder what is Bedard thinking?
Well, this is where I was. He went last year and didn't play much. He wasn't very good, but he didn't play much.
It wasn't that good this year either.
No. And so he was supposed to be the next big star.
Yes.
Did he say no this year? And now maybe he's regretting it?
Is it too late? Is it too late to go, you know what, that thing I was doing? It's clear. My schedule is clear. I can do it.
The other name that's getting a lot of talk here is Nick Suzuki.
I don't know why that guy's not going. He must be hurt because
he's saying I need to talk to our trainers and whatever.
Okay.
And there has been some talk since the Four Nations. We didn't know this going in. That one of the reasons, and his second half was way better than his first half this year. So it wasn't crazy that he didn't make the Four Nations.
His Four Nations out, and you're like, that's one of those guys where like he's clearly felt like he was snubbed.
One of the reasons, apparently, that he did not get the invite was the 2 previous times he said no to World Championships.
Aha, see?
So there's a couple ways to look at that. Is Hockey Canada spiting themselves, like, you will say yes to us when we ask? Now, he did not come out in the first half and force himself
onto the roster.
Right. Did not make Hockey Canada make a tough decision.
Shifley did, and he didn't get on the roster.
That's right. But, like, that opens up some interesting questions, too, about how should Hockey Canada be handling if people do turn you. Like, some guys are hurt. It is a long regular season.
I understand your question.
Yeah.
I believe I do. Now, I say that lots on this show.
Before I've even finished asking it, so that's cool.
So, and then don't answer it. But,
I understood it. I'm waving it off.
But the reality is, Hockey Canada uses Olympics, or Four Nations in this case, as the carrot.
Yep.
And you got to show up at Worlds.
That's right.
So what happens at Worlds? Like,
for better or worse, right? Like,
they want to win at Worlds, but they finished 4th last year or whatever it was. They want to use this.
Yeah.
They still want to use this. It's
create an evaluation opportunity.
They are going to count on the pressure being on the athlete to answer the bell for Worlds.
Yeah.
If you want to be seen for that. Otherwise, we're not doing it.
Yep.
We're not doing it. And we won at Four Nations, and you didn't get invited. Show up at Worlds, motherfucker.
Yeah. Because we just showed we also don't need you. So it is now on you.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, to step back in and show us.
We'll see in Prague next year.
Yeah.
That's how that goes.
And it's funny, hey, because, I'm a little surly at the moment about Sam Bennett.
Yep.
he was fine at Four Nations.
Yeah,
I wonder if you trust him as much when the tournament is half international referees.
Right.
And same with Konechny.
Yeah.
Maybe playing at an IIHF event as opposed to an NHL event, maybe a Nick Suzuki is a safer pick for one or two of those spots. Like, there are still going to be spots. If it, some guys just get hurt, right? You never know what might be available. It does register for me, or it does. I find that fascinating to hear all of a sudden. Yeah, Suzuki told them no twice, and all of a sudden he wasn't even on the radar as Four Nations was approaching. You're like, you can put Hockey Canada in a negative light there, saying, "Are you shooting yourself in the foot?" Well, they won, so
yeah,
no.
Now he has, like you said, especially since the new year, and more so.
Yes.
That line of Caulfield, Slafkovsky, and Suzuki especially, he drove that line.
Yep.
And so his complete game, his 200-foot game, he is somebody who, on an international stage over the Sam Bennett, every day. Right now, every day I take Suzuki over Bennett.
And you always have a guy like that, whether it's Mike Richards back in the day, whether it's a Ryan O'Reilly. Like, you always need a 200-foot, own zone face-off, PK kind of guy. That's the type of role a Nick Suzuki could play
who
for.
Can still get you a point a game.
Yeah, like they took Anthony Cirelli. Maybe that type of role is up for grabs.
Yeah, for sure. I'd take Suzuki over Cirelli too.
Yeah. Now we'll see if John Cooper will. But so last thing on this, the Worlds, now that it's Sid and his buds are going, is it like you always watch a bit? I always watch a bit. Will this be any more on your radar?
I always like it.
Yeah.
I always like it, usually because my team isn't in the playoffs. And it's nice and early in the morning. You know, you can get a gold medal at 11 in the morning.
Yeah.
So
a Caesar and a hockey game.
This is it, man. So I'm totally interested in this. And anytime Sid's over there, especially the older Sid gets, we are talking about
how many more times is he over
the sand is running through the hourglass on that, right? And so when he shows up, it's good things happen for the Maple Leafs. So I am absolutely
good thing happen for the Maple Leafs.
The red maple
just the
leaf.
singular.
Just the red.
Fuck.
The red maple leaf.
Yeah. Damn
the
it.
blue one we don't give a flying fuck about.
Oh, you do so. We just care in different ways.
Yes. Opposite ends of the spectrum.
We are, as we sit here and talk about this, the first night of the PWHL playoffs are behind us, but that was just Toronto, Minnesota, so, you know.
Frost. Scepters.
Yeah.
Scepter.
It was interesting down the stretch to watch how life and death this became for the Charge. We talked before the break for World Championships about that third period where they got like literally no shots on goal, pissed that one away. And even in the game to clinch, I'm sort of, sitting there, I'm watching it on Saturday at noon. All three teams or all six teams are playing in 3 games, and there are, Minnesota's playing in Boston. They're right behind you. They come out and score twice before people have even found their seats. And Ottawa comes out and gets 4 shots on goal in the first period. And I'm like, the desperation is just not here in an appropriate way. Now, you do come back, you win in overtime, and you're in. But they still run this thing. It's only the second year when I say still. But the team who finishes first gets to pick their opponent. And this isn't horribly, unfair. It was that close all the way through. But Montreal picks Ottawa.
Which is the 1-4.
It is the 1-4. So, maybe that would have just already been in there. Danielle Sauvageau, the GM, they interviewed her on Jocks and Jills, which is a really fun PWHL podcast if you're looking for such things. Tessa Bonhomme and Julia Teixeira. And she says to them, we decided before the season what our approach would be, our policy, right? And you put it in an envelope, and then you don't let things along the way influence you. You just open the envelope. I don't know how much I believe that. You would want, if you went 0-3 against the 4th place team, or 0-5, maybe you should reconsider. But she was doing everything she could to not say, these fucking guys, they stink.
They choke it away at every important opportunity.
Before we get into the matchup or whatever, do you 2 years into it now, you got time for the first chooses their opponent, or would you rather just run it out old school?
Yeah. No, I like it.
Yeah.
I do like it, but when you're talking about a 6-team league, and a 1-4, and it is tight, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like
Yeah, Boston missed by 1 point.
this is it. And so it's not like you have this huge opportunity to choose from
One loser.
Yeah, to choose from. You're talking about a top 4.
Yep.
And so it sort of becomes easy to say, no, we're just going to take the 4th place team, right?
Yeah.
When Ottawa finished out, they won the last 2 games, I believe, against the Victoire. And so, I don't know. I think it just takes a little bit of that sort of, pressure off.
I remember last year, like Jack Todd in the Montreal media, as people are wont to do, was taking a run at a Toronto hockey. Look, they're taking as long as they possibly can to make the decision. That's what I'd fucking do.
Well, why wouldn't you?
I know who I'm. Like, we can decide who we're playing. We'll let you know when you tell us we have to, right? Like,
Right.
we can prepare. We can. So they fixed that this year. 6 p.m., the day after the season ends, we will have like an announcement show. And that made sense too. So they're learning as they go, right? You keep pecking away at it, and this is how it's going to work. I do like it. I don't think in this instance, because like you said, it's a 1-4 anyway, like it would be hard for me, if I'm a coach or a GM for Ottawa, those fuckers, they chose us. They would have, you'd be like, yeah. But as a player, like, well.
I want to see them take the 2. No, we've had a great record against the second place team all season. I want that team.
Like, it would be hard. Like, there are those moments in sports where even as an athlete, we're 4th. Like, it makes it. Like, it would be hard for me to get too fired up about them picking.
But if Montreal took Toronto,
well, you can't. You have to pick one, either 3rd or 4th, because you're guaranteed home ice if you finish top 2, right?
Okay.
So they won't take that from you.
All right.
So yeah, it's either Minnesota or.
But see, that would be interesting.
Sure, you get to pick anybody.
That would be the thing where you go, I want it, and I've had a great record all season against Toronto.
We went 5-1 against them this year.
I want that.
Yeah.
That would be, bam, put it on the bulletin board.
And that would create, like you said, bulletin board thing, and you've just cost them money with home dates. Like, you can create some shit that way.
When you have 1 point separating Minnesota and Ottawa, it's just like, blah, 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 bam.
In some cases, is just the argument for just do normal.
So to me, you want to make it interesting?
Open it right up. Ottawa, there's been moments where they've looked better, and Gwyneth Phillips, thank God she's been as good as she was after Mashmeyer went down. Like, she has stood on her head at times. Brienne Jenner has come on, but almost everyone else seems to have slowed down a little on the scoring front. There was the one game with the offensive explosion. They put up 7 or 8 or whatever it was.
8, yeah.
I don't know, man. I think in a short series, like, these are 3 of 5.
Yeah.
You never know. But there's just something for me that I saw too often this year, and it was in that last regular season. Your life on the line. One team came out, like I said, ready to rock. Let's fucking go. And you sort of eased your foot into the water and got lucky in 3-on-3. Not got lucky, but you know what I'm saying.
Yep. Yeah.
There's just something about this team that's not filling me with confidence right now.
Well, and honestly, for me, it's been, and I am the most casual of casual PWHL fans. Hirschfeld and Carla McLeod, neither one of them really fill my sails with optimism, right? With the way they've gone about constructing this team, coaching this team, I just feel like the big trade they made this season where they traded youth for more experience.
For Josh Larocque,
And you're just like, you got older and I understand maybe you're going for it if that's what you think you're doing, but you just sort of slid in. Like I said to you, I think when I was here on Easter or whatever it was, that if they don't make the playoffs, there needs to be changes.
Yes. And just based on what they did to get in, I'm not even sure this was enough. Yeah.
Right. And so unless they go out and they shock
you
Montreal,
can save your job by getting to a final here whatever.
This is it. Yeah. And so I'm not sure I love what they've done in management and coaching here. As a casual fan, I'm going to put that right out there.
Yep. The Sens, since we last spoke, bowed out in 6. It was interesting. I don't know if this is of any interest to you. I'm sure it would have been of interest to you, but that Game 6 is as locked down in terms of keeping the blue infestation out as I have seen, at least since I moved here.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But, in terms, you just referenced for the Charge, management and coaching and team building and whatever else, you're not sure you're impressed. Ottawa did the Sens take a step forward this year, push 6 games into the playoffs. Are you feeling impressed as, in a general sense as their season comes to an end?
I'm feeling content.
Okay.
I think when you look at a 19-point increase,
Yeah.
And again, I've sort of balked at that in the past when you've brought it up to me and then you're like, well, they would have to increase by 21 points. And you're like, yeah. To me, they dropped 10 points from the previous season to last season, right? Like to
From
me,
23 to 24. Yeah.
Were they really a 78-point team last season?
Right.
No, probably not, right? So, but I think
19 from 24
and then
to
19
25.
from exactly. Yeah. So you've dropped back, and then you jump that 19 points.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all I'm suggesting here is for me as a long time, an OG fan of this organization, I feel content, but not from losing to the Leafs in 6 games. Mm-hmm. It's got more to do with I feel that there's a sense of stability and calm here with the franchise that there hasn't been in maybe 15 years, right? Just in terms of from ownership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going into this offseason, there's just like, oh my God, what's going to happen? No,
right.
We're going to tinker.
Right. The VP of communications will be cleaning all the garbages and doing all these things because we're not hiring a cleaner in the building and we're firing everybody and we're maybe moving the franchise.
They did announce they're letting the assistant GM go.
Not Rick
Bonus's son.
Ryan Bonus.
Yeah. Now, there's probably nothing more to that than a new GM often, eventually
that's an
flushes out
expiring
a
contract.
regime.
Yes.
Yeah. And
he was a holdover.
Yeah. I don't think it necessarily says anything negative about him.
I liked him.
Yeah.
But I like the Bonus family, right?
Sure.
Rick is as the original coach.
Yeah. So it's noteworthy.
It is noteworthy.
Matt and Paolo's re-signed, which is noteworthy, but the 6th defense. And I'm not trying to downplay these things, but these are off-season pieces of business that just happen. As the series went on, and we'll have a summer to dissect this stuff more clearly, but I thought the guys you needed to be getting better were getting better. Stützle was starting to show up more. Sanderson already showed up pretty well in game 1, but continued to improve. I was a little disappointed in Dylan Cousins. I didn't think there was a whole lot to his game.
Cousins and Batherson, to me, are the two guys.
And the other one I don't know why I've done it in this order, but I think a lot of people were really impressed with Tyler Clevin.
Interesting, though, to listen to both Staios and Green in the season wrap-ups speak about Tyler Clevin.
I missed that.
Because obviously the fan base is loving the series he had in the end of the season. And now through the playoffs, reporters kept saying, are you loving what Tyler Clevin's doing? And
I do remember in the series, Travis Green saying at some point we sat him down. And
we leaned on him.
Yeah,
He's like, I leaned on him quite hard.
Yeah.
And then he shed a little bit more light on that, saying, I don't think Tyler put in the offseason he needed to do. Showed up here like he was expecting that third pairing left shot.
He was right.
But he's saying he was, and he said it's hard to work with a rookie, a raw rookie, to keep the confidence up, but still demand more.
Yeah.
Right?
You're not giving me what I expect of you right now, but you're doing good. Like, it's hard to
discipline somebody and encourage and slap and encourage and slap all. Do you know what I mean? Like it's this whole idea of, man, I need way more from you, but I need you still.
Yes.
I need way more from you. Like that whole push.
That's where things get muddy.
For sure. And so, yes. And so it is that sort of that thing, right? And if Brady Tkachuk is not 100%, the 7 points, 4 goals, 3 assists, not a bad series for a guy who is.
And he wasn't.
Who was not 100%.
Yeah.
So
that was one of the things I said in I did a show over the weekend, just kind of final thoughts on the series. I said, had it gone past 6, I would have melted down. But as you and I talked about after game 3, when you're up 3-0, it still felt more like, all right, when are we doing this, as opposed to, are we doing this? And yet, as you're waiting for that doubt to creep into Toronto's head, it did feel like the opponent that you're going to have to put away is improving while you wait, right? Like,
and while you watch. Yes, exactly.
And so, Clevin, whether they were happy with him or not, it wasn't just being physical in his own end. He was starting to make some nice plays at the blue line.
And I think they were happy with him at the end.
But Sanderson was getting better.
Yep.
I was also disappointed. I talked to our buddy Steve Lloyd about this with Nick Cousins, who was when the Leafs played Florida 2 years ago and Nick Cousins was there, that guy was a fucking menace that I hated by the end of it.
We didn't see that all season.
No.
All
he's
season.
gone. That's a fourth line league min guy coming off a knee surgery. He's walking. He's gone. He's not going to be back.
Well, he wants to be here.
Well, if they...
If you want to come...
I wouldn't do it.
If he came back at the min,
sure.
I'd take him and give him another run at it full season. But he was never what we hoped he would be here.
Like, I expected by the end of that series as a Leaf fan to be like, fuck that guy. And I've just...
But who did you see that? Who did you say that about? Other than Ridley Gregg, who also was hurt, obviously.
Yeah.
Who did you say that about on the Ottawa Senators?
I don't know if I said that about anybody in that way, right? Like,
no, and they were talking about...
There was skill guys. Like I said, I got more nervous about Stützle, but I wasn't like somebody who was driving me crazy. No,
right. But they talked about Cousins, and they talked about Perron bringing that, and they talked about Gregg, and they talked, and Kachuk, right? But damage, and then... So there wasn't enough of that in this series. And so for me as a fan, I walk away from this going, yeah, you know what? The fan base showed up. The fan base showed out.
Yep.
Which the fan base has taken a pile of shit for the last 8 years, and some of it justified, some of it not. But it was a nice moment for the Ottawa fan base. But now the reality is the honeymoon's over. Right? And
we demand this next year, plus more.
And the reality is the Rangers, who were the reigning President's Trophy winner, didn't make the playoffs.
Yep.
Boston went without Lindholm and McAvoy for the last quarter of the season.
Yep.
Like, you will have Detroit coming, Buffalo coming. You have teams behind you. Like, this is not a given that you just show up next spring and you go, we're going to put in 97 points again or 100 points and we're going to make the playoffs.
Yep.
It's not going to happen. You went 0-4 in the regular season against Buffalo, and you went 1-3 against Montreal. Like, shit's got to get better.
Sure.
Like, the status quo here in Ottawa will not rest. So I was content with the strides the franchise made this year. Mm-hmm. Disappointed to lose to the Leafs.
Well, this is the last thing I wanted to ask you about this, because I got some people, when I talked about this, giving me a bit of a, yeah, kind of, and other people saying, nah, that wasn't part of it. When Montreal arrived early, they got to go up the other side. You're playing Washington. There's no baggage there. There's no luggage there. We got to do the thing we wanted to do. We played meaningful games late, made the playoffs, and you walk away going, yeah, well, those guys won the conference anyway. We weren't. And it sort of felt to me, and I didn't want to press my own feelings on this for Sens fans 48 hours after a loss to the Leafs, but that it would have been further complicated. Ottawa did all the same things. Finally made it, didn't just scrape in, grabbed the 7th spot or the first wild card. But instead of just getting to have all that, there is the Leafs of it all, right? Yep. Did that take away or sour it at all? Or are you able to compartmentalize and go, no, we still did all the things we were supposed to do? And
no, I love to see, just in a side note, I love to see after Game 5, the 4-0 win in Toronto, that the fan base and media were melting down in Toronto.
Yes. I could tell that was being enjoyed up here.
Right.
We've planted the seeds.
But the team, not so much. Right? They came out and played a great game in Game 6.
Yep.
So the fan base and the media were melting down. The team, not so much.
Yep.
So it was great, though, for a lot of these guys, a lot of the young Sens, to feel the playoffs. It's to do it against Toronto, which brings a huge media spotlight with it. Not just making the playoffs.
We get to play at 7:00 on Saturday.
Okay, but also you have tripled the media contingent
yeah.
in practice, post-practice scrums, all that. So there is a huge benefit to the pressure that gets ratcheted up by playing the Leafs.
Sure. That was conference final media. Like, that's another thing they get to put in their pocket. Right?
100%. Like, you are not going to have to face, like, if they went to Washington and played the Capitals, you are 1/3 or 1/4 of that fucking scrum.
Yep.
So there is that. The one thing that would have benefited short of the opponent is you don't get the Capitals fans in the building.
Yes.
And it was actually Creech on the radio who brought this up, saying, if I would have had my druthers, you would have preferred to go away from the Leafs only because your building is like that Game 6.
Mm-hmm.
Your building is like that.
Every night.
Yeah. As opposed to, forget about, is it 20%? Is it 30%?
Yeah. The counterpoint I would offer up is one that from a listener of the show we reference often enough, Don in Farhaven. He listened. I gave it a day after. Instead of recording right away, let Sens fans talk to Sens. They don't need to hear from a Leaf fan, right? And so I had said this Leafs thing, and he said it didn't sour him on the experience because the Sens did what they were supposed to do, and he said, and by the end of it, we had emphatically taken our building back from the Leafs.
We'll see.
So there's something. Well,
we'll see season opener next year. We're going to see what happens.
But in Game 3, it was around what we said, 20, 25%.
Yep.
In Game 4, it went up, and it was because Sens fans were.
And again, fucking shame on those people, man.
Sure, but in Game 6, maybe 10% Toronto.
Yep.
And so he was happy with that. Like, we got the chance to say, when we need to, we will keep you out. And I don't think you can do that all regular season long. But when it matters in the playoffs, the Sens locked the door.
You have to get your season ticket base up.
Yeah.
And you have to then be willing to say, no, man, we don't want that. We are going to make this happen for us.
Yep. And you've talked about that all year, right? If you're going to price it out
pricing
to fuck Leaf fans and make them pay, well, you're fucking
the fans.
Yeah, you're fucking your own fans too. Right?
And I believe that will still continue to happen.
Yeah.
And I believe you will see, even as a season ticket base increases, you maybe won't see that 70-30 Leaf fan base that we saw in that one regular season. But you're not going to. You're going to see a 50-50. You're going to see it's going to.
It's just easy when the season or when the schedule comes out in July. I, Leaf guy in Ottawa, get to look and go, okay, it's November, and I can book that. I can't do that on a whim in the playoffs or whatever. So it's a different fight, right? It's a different battle. So
I just don't give as much credence to it as Don in Farhaven does.
Sure.
Which is we've taken our building back because when you keep the Blue Horde out on a regular basis in the regular season, and you don't have your own players saying, we need an early goal to get the fan base out of it. You know what I mean?
The old Mike Fisher.
Right, exactly. Yeah. When we can get away from that, then we will have taken our building back. But until then, that's a wait and see.
We're working here hard, good listener, to take our studio back.
Slaving over a hot mic.
Not sure we've done it yet, but we're doing our best. Thank you for joining us here today. Unless you had anything else you wanted to hit on, man.
Nope. I think we're good.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground here over the last 2 days. So thank you so much for listening. Make sure you are following along on your favorite podcast app and also on social media at Tall Can Audio. For Rob, my name is Matt. See you Monday morning.
See ya.
I thought it generally sucked. I didn't think it was a specific suck. I thought it was like an all-encompassing type of suck. So, we're going to try and rectify that. But for right now, I'm going to be pretty pissed about it.